everyone, Dr. Me from Pain Free and Fit. Today we're going to answer the question, how to stop disc pain in your lower back while doing seated rows. Hope you enjoy. So one of the most common problems with seated rows, whether you're on a seated rowing machine or doing a stationary row such as I'm demonstrating here, is that as the arms travel forward and the lat muscles are stretched, the lower back has a tendency to flex forward. The natural arch in the lower back has a tendency to be lost. That compresses the front of our disc, pushing on fluid in the disc known as the nucleus pulposus, backwards into bulges and herniations, irritating bulging, herniated, and degenerative discs. So it's imperative to figure out how much of an arch that you feel most comfortable in that reduces your lower back pain, and then maintain that exact amount of arch as you row, both as the arms are going forward and backwards. Even if the seat is moving back and forwards as you're rowing and your knees are bending back and forth, that arch has to be held stable. The other option that you have is changing from a seated row where the chest is unprotected to a chest-supported row, which we'll demonstrate next. Now, by using a seated rowing machine that has a chest support, I can artificially support my spine by leaning forward and resting my chest against the pad. In this way, as I row, there's a lot less tendency for me to change that lower back arch and irritate discs. However, the typical mistake that people make with this is they perform this exercise with their feet forward. When they do that, it creates a degree of hip flexion because as the knee comes forward, the whole pelvis starts tilting in a tail under position, posterior pelvic tilting, and that will decrease the arch in the back. So as they're rowing many times, because they're sitting and there's a lot more disc compression in the seated position versus standing, as they're pulling, besides the vertical compression on their discs, that forward foot posture has a tendency to flex the spine and it can still irritate the lower back discs. So to correct this, move the position of the feet backwards so they're behind the hips. The further back you go, the more it's going to help maintain that arch or increase that arch. You'll have to determine which position maintains that unique amount of arch that feels the best on you. And as the feet are back and you're contracting your buttocks, because remember the buttock glute max muscles work with the lats to stabilize and help hold that spine in that neutral arch. This position is going to be a lot safer with the thighs backwards as the chest is supported to maintain that arch. Now, the other tip to keep in mind when performing seated rows are hand width position. The wider I have my hands and my elbows travel out further from my torso, studies have shown that this decreases the lat involvement and increases the involvement of your posterior deltoid shoulder muscles and your upper and middle trapezius muscles. So most of the time people are rowing because they want to develop the latissimus muscles. Decrease that angle of your elbows out by taking a more narrow grip. A narrow grip allows your elbows to travel further and closer to your body, avoiding that elbow out position, which will then help to increase the contraction of the lats, which is where you want to develop your muscles with the seated row, because the lats, as I said, connect with the opposite glute max or buttock muscle, and you'll be training your stabilization system to maintain that arch and protect your lower back discs. Keeping these tips in mind when performing seated rows can go a long way in helping you to fix your lower back disc pain while performing seated rows. If you want to learn more tips and strategies, as well as how to build a custom rehab program for your lower back disc pain, check out the Fast Track program for degenerative disc disease available at painfreeandfit.com. It helps to show you step-by-step how to do an analysis on your body and then how to choose the exercises and develop a routine that helps you to stabilize lower back degenerative, herniated, and bulging discs. I hope this video on fixing lower back disc pain with seated rows helps you in your training program.